Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Like I said in the introduction, I'm here with Patrick Guerriero with Block Green. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited about the conversation today. Patrick, we were talking right before we hit record on the show here. We were talking that our discussion today is probably going to be a little bit novel for my show. Um, I do for the show like to kind of stick to like the energy portion of it, and I know we'll get into it a little bit with what Block Green does, but I'm excited because your background has a lot of commodity trading and trading research and financing, and so I'm excited to dive into like the financing and the trading side of things with you. But with that being said, I'd love for you to go through your background because you have a deep background and a phenomenal background that I think is going to help us kind of navigate the conversation coming up here.
Well, I certainly appreciate the kind words, Ben. My background, you mentioned sort of the energy lens with which the show sort of operates, and certainly think there is some overlap. We try to identify opportunities and areas in the market we could add some value, right? And hopefully, in this discussion, and we can do just that. So I guess kicking things off. As you mentioned, career started on the physical side of the commodity world for an import and export business called Gellert Global. I was there for about a year and a half, and then jumped over to the financial side. I was at a long short fund called Aurelian, and I spent about 6 years there. We invested in commodity trading strategies, and that can mean a lot of different things, but mainly just identifying sort of mispriced, the energy transition. So while I started off there as a shipping analyst, mostly trading freight derivatives, doing a little equity research, about 3 to 4 years in, I really got bit by the electricity bug, so to speak. Just became kind of fascinated with the whole ecosystem, I guess you could call it. But with that sort of research, the thing about electricity, it's like the more research you do, it's the less you know. And so in that, it's really exciting, in the sense that you can really continue to push yourself, and that's exactly what I tried to do. And while we were investing in different strategies, we tried to identify industries that would be the beneficiary of this sort of energy transition that we're in. And that doesn't necessarily mean eliminating fossil fuels or anything, like that, but just finding sort of the cheapest or most efficient electrons that are available and capitalizing on them. And I think, when you work in an industry that, is centered around investments and frankly performance, you're judged on the ideas that you have, right? So while I
Yeah.
was at Aurelian, we identified some really, how do I say this, beneficial trade opportunities that, thankfully worked out. But if you don't have any ideas, it's hard to be effective. So I think we didn't want to take the step into digital asset space. I did personally, so I think the opportunity to join BlockFi, which was in 2021, was enticing. But I really enjoyed my time at Aurelian, and the founder there and the company sort of gave me a great opportunity and great exposure to natural gas markets and some of the managers and traders there, the Bill Perkins of the world. Being able to be a fly on the wall in those conversations was very it was a privilege, so to speak. But at BlockFi, we launched the miner financing business in June of 2021, which perfectly coincided with the mining ban in China.
Yep.
So walked into a situation where Hashrate had come off 50%, and just saw a tremendous opportunity for the United States.
It was
At
kind of like the golden era. I mean, granted, it was a short era, but it was, I mean, that opportunity, if you were online during that, it was, you couldn't lose, you couldn't fail. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. I think people. It was right around the time also Elon Musk had sent some tweets out, and it was people were making a fuss over it. And it's kind of like miners almost were thanking Elon Musk at that point, right? Because
Yeah.
the amount of hash rate that came off between that and what was going on in China is just a tremendous opportunity. And you know, the thing about a lot of, I work right now, we'll sort of get into what we're doing with Block Green, but it's a European based company. And, I often joke with my colleagues about sort of the American excitability that a lot of us have, which, at our best is extremely powerful. And, when sort of on the same page is very, like I said, powerful force, but at times we can get divisive, right? And that same excitability can be detrimental. But I think, looking at that opportunity in 2021, I was part of a team that was told to originate, source size transactions. That's exactly what we did. Maybe we went a little too big in areas, maybe a little too much concentration. But whatever happened at BlockFi, I'm certainly proud of the work that the small team that I was on, the work that we were able to do, and the money that we were able to generate. The only issue is it's not there anymore. And so whether whatever happened at BlockFi, certainly don't want to cast any stones, but it was a situation that was disappointing in many ways, but great exposure to the industry. And I think sort of the best thing that happened at BlockFi was the introduction to the two co-founders of Block Green, which is the company I'm at now. It's we call ourselves a Hashrate streaming protocol. That's sort of the goal that we want to get to. If we're going to truly call ourselves a protocol, we have a little bit more work to do, because right now it's a fairly centralized process, which frankly I'm okay with. Especially in the early innings, you want to take some agency, and I don't know if I might get killed for this on Twitter or something, but a little centralization here and there isn't the worst thing.
Guardrails. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Guardrails.
right.
Yeah.
But that's I say that tongue in cheek a little bit, as we certainly want to move towards a world that's fairly decentralized. But we are trying to inject, or not trying to, we are facilitating liquidity into the mining space. My focus is primarily in the U.S. and North America and South America, but the opportunity in the U.S. to capitalize on the resources that we have, something I feel really strongly about. Aurelian, the fund I was at for a little while, was entirely focused on natural resources. Most of my career has been focused on natural resources. And, while commodity markets might be thinly traded, or not present some of the opportunities that, let's say, some equity markets have, we need commodities to live. And no matter how much, people will throttle, let's say, the big oil companies of the world, they have done a tremendous amount of service for our society. It's incredible. We are awash with natural gas in this country. And if we were able to just eliminate some waste, not even all of it, right? It would just do wonders for, I think, human flourishing. And again, at the risk of sounding fluffy, there is sort of an opportunity here, similar to the one that we saw in 2021, but even more so, to cement this industry. And I don't want to say legitimize, because that might be the wrong word, but sort of cement things in public markets, and just secure the networks.
Yeah, and really help the industry mature. I think what we're seeing is the maturation of the Bitcoin mining industry. We have a lot of outside industry experts such as yourself, and then a lot of energy experts stepping into the Bitcoin mining industry, because they are also sitting. What I'm finding is they're sitting at the table at a utility company, and a Bitcoin mining company approaches them. They're jumping to the other side of the table to be with the Bitcoin mining company, because they are quickly identifying, especially the engineers, they're quickly identifying the energy management resource that is Bitcoin mining. And this is like, it's an infrastructure play. It's, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. And, there's a lot of benefits to Bitcoin. And I think a lot of good that it'll do, bank the unbanked and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just infrastructure at the end of the day for these people. And so it's exciting to see. So Patrick, I actually want to back quite a bit up. The company you were at before BlockFi, you mentioned they didn't want to step into the digital space because we're very commodity focused. Were they not viewing Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin as a commodity, or maybe touch on why they didn't want to?
No, yeah, that's a great question, Ben. Maybe it helps to sort of give a background of the fund. They've been around for almost 20 years now, which in the hedge fund and investment world is quite some time. And the strategy really focuses on mispriced opportunities, right? And I say that not in the sense that Bitcoin is fair value or anything, but when you are trading or investing, you are charging your limited general partners fees, both on performance and a management fee.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, if we were to charge, let's say, the traditional fund model is 2 and 20, we're going to charge that just to buy Bitcoin. That's not exactly adding value, right? Our investors could have done that on their own.
Sure.
But I think when it comes to viewing Bitcoin as a commodity, it absolutely is. So we were sort of on board there, broad strokes, but risk tolerance is one thing. It really wasn't a high beta or the volatility in the fund was low, and that was designed that way, right? It was sort
Yep.
of preservation capital. And it was beyond the fund's risk parameters. There were sort of two trades that I identified. One was the cash and carry trade, which was executed by a lot of people in terms of capitalizing on the spread between the spot market and the futures market. And then the second one, actually, I saw someone else who was in the gas space trading unfortunately, was hedged or thought he was mitigating risk by selling out of the money gas options, and it just really didn't go well. But it was against Bitcoin mining and in a data center operation, so that sort of sparked my interest.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, so it's very smart, and it didn't work out, but I'd heard about Bitcoin. This is around 2018, 2019 now, and then I was in a graduate school program, and me and a couple classmates decided to buy hardware, and that was beginning of, or I'd say mid 2019, and then by let's say just before COVID, it really it started going down the hole.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when we were unfortunately locked in our houses there for a little bit, it was really the first time I'd forced to sort of look towards the future. Traditional commodity markets, some guys or some people look further out on the curve. Some people are sort of front month risk on type of allocators, and I certainly fell into that category. And in the sense that a lot of our research was, on more economic models, I'd say, than any obviously in commodity markets, there's not as much cash flow generating businesses,
Sure.
and we can talk about uh, utilities and things like that. But I guess this is sort of a roundabout way of saying that we looked at things more on, I guess, in Bitcoin, a lot of people talk about the macro picture, right? And there's also a micro picture. There were industries that, if you're under the camp that electricity prices are in terminal decline, which I certainly am. I don't know when that happens though. So
I was gonna say you'll have to. We might have to go down a tangent here because. So you think electrical rates are or will be in terminal decline?
yeah, that's not a bad thing, so to speak. I think
No, no, not at all.
to see to live there, or to be around to see the day when electrons are free for everyone. That'd be fantastic. And how we get there, it's going to take a lot more than just me or just the team at Block Green, which I can't say enough good things about them. Um, and there are just people in the industry that are really impressive that are all sort of working towards this. And frankly, it's a privilege to be a part of it. I was at a conference in Houston not too long ago, and I don't know either of these people particularly well, but one was Gideon Powell from Choya, and the other one was Margot Paez. And two people who on the surface might not seem like they have too much in common, but for what it's worth, the discussion that they had was so American. It was just they were listening to each other, sharing ideas, supporting each other, thought differently about the energy market, but just seeing those two peoples frankly come together gave me a lot of it was like galvanizing a little bit. So there are opportunities and industries that I think are going to benefit from sort of this energy transition. And when I say terminal decline, that more so means just like the marginal cost of production, right?
Yeah. And that's what I was interested in. I'm guessing an abundance of renewable generation will eventually we'll eventually reach a point then where we're not pricing in the cost to build out renewable generation, and we're just generating the electricity that we need. And so I guess I can see that. Boy, it's yeah, we're a bit away from that. I think,
Yes. Yeah.
what was it? It was like 500 gigawatts of generation needed just to offset the instability of
Yeah.
renewables in the
No,
current state. In the current state, technologies will come out, and that space will advance. But that's cool. That's an interesting perspective. I hadn't heard that before.
yeah, it's it sounds sort of drastic maybe at first, but between what you sort of correctly identified there in terms of renewable build out and stranded renewables, frankly, the amount of waste that we see in transmission loss, you know, but whether there's a place for renewables, there's a place for hydrocarbons. I certainly am not going to tell anyone sort of what to do. There are just assets that are poorly utilized, I would say.
Yeah,
And if we're able to do that properly, there's just huge externalities that are positive for
yeah.
so many people.
Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate that perspective. I like. I really appreciate unique perspectives in that. Again, I hadn't heard that before, but it's definitely, as I start to think about it here right now, I can see why that path would be something to talk about.
Yeah,
I
and
actually
sorry, but just real quick,
no, go for it.
I don't want to ignite any of your listeners here. I know we had talked about that before the show. I love.
Patrick said we're going to have zero cost of
No, no, no.
electricity.
I certainly don't fall into the camp who like tries to demonize certain energy companies. Yeah, they do a tremendous amount of service for us. So, say that in a positive way, so to speak.
Of course, no, and I don't think any of the audience will walk away thinking that you were demonizing a segment of the generation
Good, good, good.
industry. So no, that don't worry about that. I do want to just quickly ask you, and this kind of goes back to like identifying trades and identifying opportunities. When you were with the BlockFi team, what if you could maybe just talk a little bit and maybe super high level, but like what was the opportunity for providing the liquidity, there and at that time, if you wouldn't mind just touching on that a little bit.
No, you ask great questions, Ben. So I appreciate you keeping me on track here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so on the BlockFi team, the financing that we did there was ASIC backed, either USD denominated or BTC denominated financing. Um, and, you know, we didn't lend too much against infrastructure. Maybe we should have, maybe we shouldn't. It's the machine prices that we were seeing were just extravagant. And I think, would I've done some things differently? Of course. But I think given, what we had and I definitely studied the other players in the space, whether it be the Galaxies or the Foundries. Once I heard they stopped lending, I certainly wanted to maybe look at the break a little bit. Because, at BlockFi, we weren't essentially set up for, the 9-figure checks that we were underwriting.
sure.
But like I said, it was an opportunity to support some of the larger public companies in the industry, which it's public information out there, and I was certainly happy to do so. And I think the headlines that you see with some of the bankruptcies and stuff, I really can't say that I would do anything different from the partners that we had. Business is business sometimes, and bad things happen, but I think the whole industry sort of learned a hard lesson about getting a little over your skis.
Yeah. Well, and so I'd like to move into who Block Green is, and I think this is a good transition point for us because the liquidity in the market and in the industry is important. I mean, it's helpful. It's what is going to drive growth and adoption and expansion. And so let's maybe go a little deeper on who is Blockgreen, your current employer, and who you're working at right now. And you had mentioned Hashrate streaming protocol. So maybe give us who Blockgreen is, what the Hashrate streaming protocol is, and what you guys are doing to provide liquidity to the marketplace.
Happy to. Yeah, so right now we are a two-sided platform, or a capital market, so to speak, where miners can list their hash rate, or sell their forward hash, or sell forward their hash rate for some discount. Similar to a music artist selling forward their records for let's say 10-12% discount. And what we have done is, I'm very appreciative of two co-founders of the company too, for sort of their vision in the US, in the sense that bringing capital that is offshore to US based miners is something that I could certainly bet my career on. So that
Mm-hmm.
was enjoyable when I met them, and the team that we built there is a testament to the two founders, and to just everyone on in our group that is certainly committed to this space. And as you mentioned, very high level, just connecting miners and liquidity providers to help support growth, and get some of the companies that are acting in a sustainable manner through this halving period, and hopefully set them up for a nice stretch into the next bull market.
Yeah, I it's awesome. And I have to ask. So I understand, selling forward your hash rate. It's definitely a phenomenal way to smooth out your operation, hedge your exposure to the increasing hash rate, the ever increasing hash rate. I think it's one of the few true number go up
Yeah.
technologies out there is the damn network hash rate. For those mining, you understand why that I say it's the damn network hash rate. But um, who is the buyer of that hash rate?
Yeah, so I think it's again looking at things at a high level. So I might get this number wrong, but I think it's over 50 or 60% of Bitcoin didn't move, maybe even higher than that, in the last 12 months. So I think Bitcoin holders, or I don't like this term, but Bitcoin whales, want to see more liquidity in the market, right? Because there are different ways people can view Bitcoin, and again, it's not my place to tell anyone sort of how to view it or what to do, but I certainly, and I think I can speak for the other members of our company as well. We don't want to see a world where people have their Bitcoin in cold storage with spam and ammunition in like a bunker. That's not the world we want to live in, or at least it's not the world I want to live in. So, we have to push ourselves and try to build new products and new applications. And now's the perfect time to do so. It's literally the worst mining market in our sort of short history here. But there are a lot of people who have been in the industry a lot longer than I have that have absolutely no fear. So it's easy to sort of align with them, whether it be competitors, clients, partners, whatever it is. And at Blockgreen, I think we've sort of found our niche, in the sense that we have a track record, and have been able to identify partners that are interested in injecting liquidity into US miners, and that also miners in different countries, but we do have a focus on the US. And we are fortunate to have discussions with miners who I would I don't know, I don't want to say anything in terms of like the public space to say, I don't want to like fire up the Reddit crowd, right? But some of these public companies are
Yeah,
really strong,
yeah,
and they pass the sleep test, so to speak, now. And earlier in our discussion, I said the legitimacy of them, and it's far beyond that. I think you look at some of the public miners who represent a pretty small amount of total hash rate, right? Not many. It's sort of like the shipping industry in a weird way, where a lot of the fleet is private, but those who are public, I think it just is a good symbol of transparency, and a good way, frankly, for retail investors to get exposure to mining. But exposure to hash rate is a tough road to navigate, I guess, because a lot of the public miners recently, the liquidity has been pretty good actually in terms of volume. But a lot of the public guys are thinly traded, and we don't want to see a situation where they have to dilute their shareholders. It's tough to get sort of in and out for larger institutions, so we just want to give another road or have another rail of which institutional investors can have or increase their hash rate exposure, generate some Bitcoin yield, and support the network while they're at it.
Yeah. I think that was really well said. And when it comes to valuing that hash rate, so I know the seller of the hash rate selling at a discount. That makes sense. You're locking in a value on that hash rate, so you're going to sell at a slight discount. The buyer on the other side is then also hoping to be buying that discount and capture that spread. Are you guys projecting what that spread can be for the buyer of the hash rate, or are these groups, institutions, retail buyers, is it on them to say, okay, this 10% discount on the hash rate that I'm buying, I have a pretty strong likelihood that the network hash rate isn't going to rip 30% in the time that I'm buying this hash rate? So is that how they're looking at it, or are there other ways to be viewing this?
Yeah, so I think there are multiple ways to look at it. We certainly try to look at things with multiple angles. We're under sort of the camp, as I think most people are, that over time we're going to see hash rate increase, with periods of capitulation, here with any non-systematic events or black swan events, so to speak. So the way we sort of value things is very conservative. But I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, we do see a world where people are coming to our platform and there's sort of a true bid ask in terms of what the rates will be or what the discount or projections will be.
So the market's going to figure out that discount rate.
Exactly, right. So
I got it.
Yeah, people say, how do you price things, or what are people going to, or what's the cost of this? And the answer is usually the costs are the prices, what someone else will pay for it. So there is a method behind our analysis, and we have pretty extensive product conversations and a very talented team on the engineering side that has come up with a MLAI model. It gets better every day, but by no way is it perfect, and by no way do we have the answers, or can we? If I knew where hash rate was going, I don't know if. No.
And I'm sorry, what type of model did you said there was this? It was a what?
Machine learning.
Machine learning model. Oh, okay. So way smarter than me. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, because as I put together my own mining operation, I really did put my best foot forward in terms of like modeling this out, and the biggest piece to that is modeling the direction of the network hash rate. And I just tried to put 3 bands on it,
Mm-hmm.
worst case, average case, best case, and
Right.
and hope that I can bounce around in between those bands as far as where the hash rate's going.
Survive in advance. No, I couldn't agree more, and I too am a pleb miner myself, and it's a situation where forecasting hash rate is not something that I'm going to claim to have an edge in, but how you sort of mitigate risks around the hash rate situations, I think that is something that our company is sort of able to add some value in the sense that I, like you said, I think it's great to look at sort of a tri-pronged approach. I tend to always think of things in the worst case, and just try to avoid it. It's some things are unavoidable. There are going to be bad, unfortunate things that happen in business and in life, but you do your best, and certainly if things go in a direction that isn't favorable, at least you again can sleep all night.
Survive. Yeah, just survive. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it really is just survive and stay alive and don't get taken out. That is definitely how I kind of model and plan and view my investment strategies. So I am curious. So now we just talked a lot about the buyers of this hash rate. Now on the flip, the sellers, what type of protection do the buyers have if, let's say, the substation transformer at a site goes out 200 megawatts, snap of the fingers, it's all offline. It's going to be a long time till they can get a replacement sub transformer out there. What happens?
No, it's another great question. There, our agreements, the counterparties face each other directly, and should that happen, there are mechanisms which are on chain, which are collateral for the buyer of the hash rate. Should there be like a tornado or natural disaster, we have insurance in place to, or that's one of the prerequisites. So something
Okay.
like that I think would be covered if there's like an explosion, anything like that. I think the worst scenario for let's say a buyer of hash rate is if the seller essentially just turns off, and you don't hear from him, which I suppose is certainly possible. Or I don't suppose that that's absolutely possible, but I think just those who we choose to partner with, we like our chances in terms of the corporate or the credit worthiness.
Yeah, and from what I understand, and I'd love for you to expand on this, you guys do quite a bit of vetting of the hash rate providers and those partners that you guys are working with. Maybe talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little exhaustive, frankly, and I hope I didn't
Yeah.
maybe tick some people off in the industry asking too many questions, but it's just um, part of the business, and I think that there's only really you mentioned something before in terms of first hand or physical experience, I think, and hearing that you're a miner yourself, you certainly I think would appreciate this in the sense that there's really only one way to be an expert in something, and it's you have to do it. Um, you know, at when I was at Aurelian, I was approached by an absurd amount of investment banks. Either whether it was representing oil and gas companies or shipping companies, and the banker had never been on a ship or they'd never been to an oil field, and you really just
Yeah.
can't. And it doesn't make investment bankers bad people at all. It's just like you really can't claim to be an expert at something unless you've done it. So I think that's at Block Green, we have Hashrate live in Canada, and that's I guess a long way of saying the physical background and the ability to execute on sort of the operations are just invaluable and just couldn't be more important.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear. You absolutely have to go kick the tires yourself. You have to try this stuff yourself. I mean, I'm a hands-on learner to begin with, but yeah, I'm definitely a believer of you really have to get your hands in there and you know work on these things if you're gonna, especially if you're dealing with other people's money.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
yeah, that's huge. So I'd love to maybe talk about, you know, there are other people in the market that have things like tokenized hash rate or there's other products that get kind of close to what you guys are doing. But why did you choose not to tokenize? If you can maybe go that direction for a little bit.
Yeah. I think just at a very rudimentary, I don't mean this to be facetious at all, but we didn't have to. We can build the infrastructure and provide the rails that facilitate liquidity to miners in the U.S. How we sort of increase maybe liquidity on our own protocol by that's what would we would essentially benefit from a token. But right now, I think we want to move quickly, but we don't want to rush. So is that possible down the road? Sure. But right now, I think it's best. I tend to have a little bit of blinders on sometimes anyway when working on projects. I don't know if I can handle too much at one time, but
Yeah,
um, you know that's definitely something we've talked about. Um, but right now it's just focusing on closing some of our earlier transactions here. Happy to say that we do have live transactions on the platform, and um, you know things are moving along. Don't want to put the cart in
great.
front of the horse or
Yeah,
claim too much
yeah.
success yet, but we're getting there brick by brick.
Yeah, and don't get really fancy with it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't dress it up in a token where you got gas fees and yeah, it's cool. I
And
appreciate the simplicity in that.
no, many thanks. And I think the thing I might have left out is that we really want to keep this Bitcoin native. It's built on Bitcoin. There's no bridge. There are no sort of other chains or this is a Bitcoin business.
And that hash rate quite literally gets directed to the buyer's wallet. And I mean, there's no other platform or interface other than the hash rate going from the pool to their wallet. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's very well said. I think we have mechanisms in place with pool partners, and we do have a custody partner as well, which I think we'll be announcing shortly. And then we'll also have a self custody solution in the next couple of months. So that's we try to make this, like you said earlier, a simple product, which I can certainly appreciate in the sense that boring isn't a bad thing.
No.
Hopefully we can create a really boring product and service the industry, at a very high level.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am curious this is going back to like your customer base, and customers on the selling side of this. But I have quite a few people on the show that have come from the power and utility space, and then some that are still at the power and utility companies, and everyone's starting to talk about vertically integrating mining operations at a utility company. Do you guys see a fit for the black green product for a utility company that's like, man, we love this as an energy management tool, but yeah, we're not taking Bitcoin on the balance sheet. That's
You raise a great point. I think I absolutely see a world where utilities are capitalizing on Bitcoin mining and the monetization of electrons. Right, it makes so much sense. If there's anyone in of your listeners that are there and want to sort of talk about that, I'd be happy to.
yeah.
Currently, in the essence of transparency, not having active discussions with utilities in the U.S. Would love to, and hopefully can stick around long enough to see the day where that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's such an awesome product all around. I mean, for all the reasons that we've already covered, but then you start to look at again a mining company that doesn't want Bitcoin on their balance sheet because that's too risky, and they're either private or a public utility company, and now they can build out an energy management tool in their portfolio, not even need to bother with like hosting. So you don't even need to build up a super large team to manage this thing other than just to get the operation running and running smoothly. Um, and then you just forward sell all your hash rate.
Exactly, and
Yeah, it's
no,
cool.
it's I certainly am happy that it seems to be clicking with you, and hopefully more people in the industry not just can identify it with Block Green, but some of the companies on the energy side, growth companies, whether it's a Giga or Vespine or someone like that, they're just really good businesses, and I think we see a world where the mining space, I think the bigger players are definitely going to have an advantage to a certain extent. But there is certainly a place for the smaller, nimble miner that has good growth ideas and potential. And I'm just really excited to see where the space sort of heads in the next 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're moving in the direction I was planning to go next. Looking to the future, and as we start to kind of wrap up the discussion here as well, walk me through what the big picture is for Block Green. What do the next 2, 5, 10 years look like for you guys, and how you guys see yourselves playing in the space?
Yeah, that's a tough question, man. I'll do my best to tackle it, but I think short term, it's really not the miner's job to educate themselves on us, right? We're the seed stage sort of company that we need to prove to the market and to our partners that we're more than just an idea. Sort of the proof of concept idea or stage for us is somewhat over, and since we're ready to go, so happy that things are moving along. But with that said, we don't want to rush. So I think in the best case scenario, we're able to support some of the more well-run miners over the next 2 years, and hopefully we're a big reason why a lot of them are profitable businesses post halving. And I think there is really no limit to this industry, which is just super exciting. In the sense, where are we going to be in 5 years? I have no idea.
Right.
I know where I think I want to be,
Yeah.
and maybe I should manifest that, or maybe I should keep it to myself. But I think there are a lot of just exciting opportunities on Block Green in terms of future revenue streams and future like I said, rails and sort of the digital asset space, and then just in general. If you asked me 5 years ago if I was going to be financing miners or facilitating offshore liquidity to U.S. miners, I would have told you you're absolutely insane. But the next 5 years hopefully have more surprises. Hopefully a little less volatility though.
Yeah, I imagine we'll have plenty of volatility and
Yeah.
along with all those surprises. I'm in the same boat, Patrick, to be honest. 5 years ago, if you'd asked me, no. I mean, this was not a future I would have envisioned. I'm so excited. Like I have a hard time ending work for the day, which is a new experience for me. I have a hard time stopping the work because I'm so excited about everything. So yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. It's fun. I'm so pumped to see what the future brings. Um, yeah,
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, it's easy to get maybe or to think that people might sort of burn out in the sense that this is not an easy industry to work in at all. But I don't think many industries are easy, right? It's not easy to be a fireman. It's not easy to be a teacher. It's not easy to be, someone taking a ton of risk at a front. It's there are challenges at everything, but I think the interesting thing about this industry is that no one has to be here, right? I
that's
mean,
right.
we do, like, we need as many curious minds as we can get. Like, we certainly need people, but nobody's dad or nobody's grandpa or whatever worked in Bitcoin mining, right? Everyone's here because they want to be here, and someone I really look up to in the industry said before, you don't need anyone's permission to change the world. And it's just really exciting to be a part of an industry with people like that, right? Whether I can do it, I don't know if I'm the man for that job, but certainly gonna do the best we can, and
Yeah,
have a quiet confidence that I think a lot of people in the industry share, and just enjoy going to work in the morning.
yeah, absolutely. It's it's super exciting. So, Patrick, I'd love to give you a little bit of time here at the end to give a handoff to the audience. I do want for the listeners in the audience who are interested in Block Green and what you guys are doing from any avenue to be able to get a hold of you guys. So please give a handoff to how can people get in touch with you, find Block Green, etc.
Yeah. Well, again, just appreciate you having me on, and for the enthusiasm that you sort of bring to the space. I mentioned, we need as many curious minds as possible, and you're certainly one of them. So keep doing what you're doing. I think, as it pertains to Block Green, we have our website, which is pretty simple. It's just block.green. We have a newsletter that we distribute every week. If you're a miner, we'd love to chat. If you're a liquidity provider, please give us a call. But I think the best place for me is probably on Twitter at PATTG or PATTY0G. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I just encourage anyone listening who may not be in the space or might want to dig a little deeper to do just that. Like we said, it wasn't that long ago that we weren't involved in the space either, right?
Yep.
So I think right around probably around 4 years ago, I started maybe listening to a few podcasts, listening to a YouTube video here or reading an article there, and just really encourage everyone, to do that, because I certainly learned about this industry from those who came before me, and hopefully we can all do that for those who come after us.
Yeah, I appreciate the handoff, Patrick. This conversation was awesome, and I really appreciate being able to take a look at a couple of different areas in the Bitcoin mining space. So this was phenomenal. Thank you for the kind words at the end as well. It's always wonderful to chat with you, and look forward to doing it again in the future. And yeah, you take care.
I appreciate it, Ben. It was a pleasure, and thanks again.
All right, bye.